All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Friday. Happy Friday to everyone out there. November 17th, and we got a jam-packed NBA slate to jump into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to go through each and every one of these games. I'll give you my lean on the spread. We'll talk about the game. I'll give you my lean on the total, but all my final plays, what I'm actually rolling with myself. If you do want to fade me, those plays will be in the pinned comment. Speaking of fade me, go check out fademe.store. Tons of new stuff over there. I'm wearing the Santa Drinks hoodie right now. I don't know if you'll be able to see the back, but I'll try. Kind of cool. Santa drinking a big beer with a money bag. But nonetheless, guys, like I said, pinned comments where the final plays will be. Last night, nothing that's going to kill us. A 1-1 night. The Nets don't cover. They lose by 7, I believe. But the Thunder, easy dub there on the money line. Now we're on a 7-1 run. If you don't know, 2 nights ago we went 6-0. So this 1-1 doesn't sting as bad when you kind of put it into I guess a slightly larger sample size like that. The good news is we're looking at a ride of the day that absolutely cashed with ease, coming in from Black Jesus himself. Mikal Bridges over 8.5 rebounds plus assists. The dude finishes with 7 boards and 5 dimes. So let's pump in some damn crowd noise for that one. Shout out to Black Jesus himself. But guys, if you do want to be the ride of the day, all you got to use is hashtag ride of the day in the comments, just like you see on the screen there. And I'll be jumping on board with one person's pick and giving a shout out to you in the next video, win or loss. If you lose, we got to talk about it. But if you win, we got to celebrate it like we did today. So shout out to the next ride of the day, and shout out to Black Jesus for the Mikal Bridges spot there. But let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 here. It isn't my favorite matchup on the board today. We'll start with the spread. It seems like I know it sounds crazy, but it seems like too big of a number to lay as the Bucks, because the Bucks just have not been consistently dominant or good this season. 2-8-1 against the spread here. On the road, they're only 2-3 straight up. They're a big home team this year, 5-1, but they're not home. They're on the road. But then you look at the Charlotte side of things, and this is just a bad team struggling with injuries, and they're 1-4 at home. So I sit here and I'm like, 7.5. It's either, you can look at this 2 ways, and you're gonna be like, you're on the fence, Ev, that's annoying, but you could look at this 2 ways. 7.5 is a number that you could say, oh well, Milwaukee's way better than how bad Charlotte is, right? But you could also look at it as a big number to cover. So unfortunately, I think my lean actually goes towards Charlotte, but no chance that becomes a final play. I can tell you guys that already. The total over 235.5. I already see this number racing up to 237 on Bet365 right now as we're recording. So I guess I'll lean towards the over because this number is jumping already. But I doubt either one of these plays will be in the pinned comment. And I hate to start off the slate like that. I don't choose the order up in here, but I just don't really love this game altogether. One thing to note, I should have mentioned this: Giannis questionable to play today. Terry Rozier still out. Brandon Miller questionable. Gordon Hayward also questionable. So some big names to monitor on the injury report if you do have something going in this game today. Next up, we have Washington hosting the Knicks here, and I think you gotta look at the Knicks minus the 6.5 in this spot. This is just a bad Washington team. They truly are. 2-9 on the season, 5-6 against the spread. They do push the pace, but I think the Knicks are going to control this pace a little bit in this one compared to what we're looking at from the Washington side of things. So I do like the under 228 as well, again, just because of that pace of play. But I think the Knicks minus 6.5 is a fair number. Like, this is a team that is, barred, no doubt better than Washington. In terms of injuries, RJ Barrett still, he's been on the question, he's been questionable for a couple games in a row now, but I do think that the Knicks, even without RJ Barrett, are the better team. Julius Randle, I don't see who can stop him, and even Jalen Brunson, who's stopping him? So though those two guys have had games, or I guess a season in which they haven't fully clicked yet, right? Like at times we saw last year, this is still a Washington team that should have no chance of stopping their 2 best scorers. So whether this is a fast-paced game, which I don't think it will be, or a slow-paced game, it should be a game in which the Knicks dominate, both sides of the ball, to be completely honest. So give me the Knicks minus the 6.5 points. Like I said, 228. I don't mind the under here as well, because if the Knicks get going and playing Knicks basketball, they are gonna slow things down and kind of play that grinded out basketball. as good as an offense as they should have, right? They haven't fully clicked. They're only scoring the fifth fewest points in the entire league right now. This is a Washington team that allows, plenty of slow-paced teams to score more, but they're a bad offense as well when it comes to efficiency. So they're a top 10 scoring team, but really their field goal percentage and metrics like that, this isn't a very good offense on the Washington side of things. So even if this does get, up tempo, I think the Knicks defense can kind of make things difficult for Washington in terms of percentages. And then if it just goes like I'm thinking, I do think that this is just a slower paced game. All right, Cleveland hosting Detroit. Cleveland dropping 9 points here on Detroit. -9 is the spread. Total sitting at 220.5. Couple things to note on the injury side, I guess for both teams. Marvin Bagley questionable. Jalen Duren still out, so some big man issues there for Detroit. But on the Cleveland side of things, some guard issues. So Garland, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, missed last game. He's questionable with a neck to come back today. And Donovan Mitchell is actually questionable in this game as well. So keep an eye on that injury report, because obviously if both those guys don't play, it's an entirely different game. If one of them doesn't play, it could be an entirely different game as well. So I'm going to go with the assumption that maybe one of them doesn't play, or even if they both do play, one of them isn't fully healthy, because 9 points is a lot to lay. And I like Detroit in this spot, which I shouldn't say I like them. In fact, it's worth the psycho alert alarm. I get that. But Detroit here, 2-10 on the year, sounds terrible. They're 5-7 against the spread. Like, this is a team that isn't all that terrible at covering, especially when they're getting some of these big numbers. We saw them cover that big number against the Sixers, right? Earlier in the season, we saw them cover that big number against the Bucks. Like, these are good teams that they're covering numbers against. So I don't hate them to be able to go out there and do that. Their last game, they're 5-point dogs, I think, and they lost to the Hawks by, 6 points. Like, they're keeping some of these games against, I would say, better, quote unquote, better NBA teams. They're keeping them closer than you would think. So yeah, kind of crazy, but give me Detroit here plus the 9 points. In turn, it's so funny that actually has a chance of being a final play, because this is just a better covering team than they do actually play real basketball. In terms of the total, 220, it's a tough one, because you do have, I would say, an inconsistent Cleveland team so far. They've looked really good at times. They've looked really poorly at times. If you just look at their metrics altogether, they're in the bottom 10 when it comes to scoring this season. But when you look at it from the last 5 perspective, they're a top 8 team when it comes to scoring. So a little confused as to what Cleveland we get. Obviously, you're going to need Mitchell and you're going to need Garland if you do want to really, really bank on a Cleveland team that's going to drop a bunch of points. So if they play, I think I look at the over, because this Detroit defense, though they did, and we can give them credit, started the season fairly well, right? Like, they weren't the worst of defensive teams. They have definitely dropped. They started, I think, as, up until now, season-wide, they're 15th in terms of points against. They're sitting at 24th right now. So whether it's Duren, whether it's just the Pistons going to piston, right, and kind of getting into the flow of things, what the season will probably be for them, they've started to drop defensively. So I don't really think that they're going to stop Cleveland if Mitchell and obviously Garland play. But again, I could see this being a game in which Cleveland wins by like 8 points, and it's never really close, but Detroit just kind of sneaks in and backdoor covers, or just covers all the way. It's kind of a crazy spot. Guys, before we get into the Toronto and Boston game, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button as well. You guys have been absolutely torching the like button in the recent videos, so go ahead and do the same here. And if you are new, again, hit that subscribe button. We're here every single day. We do basketball, football. Tassos is out here with the parlay. He just hit a plus 664 parlay a couple days ago, posting on the channel. So tons of content coming out. Keep an eye on all the new stuff coming as well. But yeah, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We have the Toronto Raptors hosting the Celtics here. The graphic says 6.5. The spread right now is actually 7 on most sports books. I haven't seen it anywhere at 6.5, so that's just a matter of us when we screenshotted that. Now it moves. I actually think BetMGM might still have 6.5, so just make sure you get the best line if you are on the Celtics side of things. I would lean towards the Celtics in this one, and I am a big Celtics fan, so there could be some bias here. I admit that, but what I will say is this Celtics team, one, they've owned the Raptors. They've won 5 straight against the Raptors, and they've just been playing good basketball. Like, they beat the Philadelphia 76ers, a damn good team with no Jaylen Brown, without Kristaps Kristaps Porzingis, and they beat them by 10. Like, this is a well-built team. When guys go down, Derek White steps up, Drew Holiday's good. Like this is a team that even the bench guys are kind of stepping up too. Like, this is just a better team than Toronto. And Toronto, to me, coming off that loss to Milwaukee, a game in which they should have won, that was at Toronto. That was a Milwaukee team without Giannis, right? Like, I don't really think that they're flying high right now. And this is, I believe this is the last game before they go back home. I think they have a couple games at home, or they play one and then go back on the road. So it's kind of a weird spot for them, playing at home and then jumping on the road very, very soon as well. So I do think they Toronto could be kind of looking ahead to their last home game there, if that kind of makes sense. This Boston game is probably bigger than the next game, so you're probably watching that being like, you're crazy, Ev, but it's almost like we got to get going on the road again. Like, that's what they're thinking about when they just got home a couple games back. So give me Boston minus the 6.5 points. Better team overall. In terms of the total, sitting at 218. I get why it's low. This is a Toronto team that's played slow, and has forced other teams to play slow. But this is a Celtics team that, though at times they will slow it down and make sure they're getting some good shots and good looks, it's still a team that, they're just going to go out there and potentially drop, 130 on you, 115 on you at minimum. So 218 total. I got to take a peek at the over there, because if I think Boston's scoring 115 at minimum, even if they don't cover the spread, right? Like, that, all you need is 103 from Toronto to get to this number, and I think they get there. All right, guys, if you are still not using OddsJam. If you are still not using OddsJam, you are absolutely missing out. This is a great way to mathematically dismantle sportsbooks here. We'll talk about Outlier in a little bit, but OddsJam, a great way to dismantle sportsbooks from a mathematical edge, guys. It is really cool. You can see every single line on every single sportsbook, right? They also have a positive EV tool, which is probably my favorite tool on the platform, aka, Denver plus 4.5 in this NCAA basketball game, right? Plus 165 over on DraftKings. Average sportsbooks odds at plus 119. You can look through Charlotte Hornets plus 8.5, minus 115 against the Bucks, right? Average sportsbooks odds minus 133. So you're looking at these spots and saying, okay, well, what do we have here? Oh, this is an entirely mispriced line. And if you don't know what positive EV betting is, it essentially is taking the best line out there, capitalizing on mistakes that sportsbooks makes, and being able to, capitalize on that. Like, sometimes at the top of that list, we'll jump a play that's plus 110 on FanDuel, for example, whereas it's minus 115 on all sportsbooks. It doesn't guarantee that that play is going to hit, right? But it guarantees that you are getting by far an outlier of the price, which is really, really cool. And it's a guaranteed long-term, or proven, I should say, long-term profitable strategy. So just Google plus EV betting if you want to know more about it. But you can try it for free 7 days over on OddsJam, guys. Use the link in the pinned comment. And if you like it, you want to continue your subscription, use code GUYBOSTON when checking out with a subscription. You get a quarter, 25% off your first month. It really is a good tool, guys, especially if you want to mathematically kind of get an edge. And now, if you want to look into, say, player trends or player props or anything like that, make sure to check out Outlier, OddsJam and Outlier, the double O's here. This is the player prop screen over on Outlier. You can jump in here. This is Jalen Brunson, under 9.5 rebounds plus assists. You can see he's done it in 100% of games this season. Last year, he did it in 51% of games. Head-to-head, only 25% against the Wizards here. But yeah, you can go through and see what the Wizards, their opponents, are doing against their position, them overall. Scroll down some supporting stats, flip the defense and offensive insights. A really, really cool tool, guys. You can also look at game trends and everything like that. So make sure to check out Outlier as well. Same thing, 7 days free with the link in the pinned comment. I would really highly recommend both of those tools. All right, let's get back into the action here. We are looking at the Atlanta and Philly game. Atlanta sitting here at home as favorites, which is, I'm not gonna lie, kind of puzzling to me. But then you look at the injury report, and Embiid is listed as questionable. Now, he's been listed as questionable for multiple games in a row. And it's interesting because he played, a million minutes against the, who'd they play before the Celtics? I don't really remember, but they a million minutes before against them. Then he played like 34 minutes against the Celtics in a back-to-back. And this line would honestly dictate that they're probably going to be sitting Embiid. So keep an eye on that. If he plays, give me the Sixers and the points. Like, I don't care that they lost to the Celtics. Celtics. This is still a good team, right? They've lost, I think it was 2 in a row. Indiana is the team that he played a million minutes against, right? They lost 2 in a row, but still, he's Joel Embiid. And there's guys on that team that can step up, Maxey and company. And you have Atlanta here in a spot in which, they played a tough game against New York. They could be kind of exhausted too as well. But again, that line tells me Embiid's not playing. And if that's the case, then I don't really love the total either. Like, yes, the thought process is, oh, when Embiid's not playing, this team plays faster, right? Not really. Like, we used to think that, but it was always a Harden thing, which is kind of coming to fruition and being made clear. So I don't necessarily think that this is a good spot for the total, regardless if Embiid doesn't play, because you're going to have, I guess it's a good spot for an under, because I think you're missing, 30 plus points per game from one guy on a team. So yeah, take that with a grain of salt, but game's kind of up in the air without Embiid being officially ruled in or out right now. All right, next up, we have the Spurs taking on Sacramento. The Spurs team has lost 6 straight games here. They're 3-8 on the season. Sacramento turning things around now 6-4. They've won 4 games in a row, and I'd give them credit for 3 of those 4 games. OKC, Cleveland, and the Lakers. Not that they're really, those are the best of teams to beat, right? But they're dominating these games. They're 3-0 against the spread in their last 3 games, and obviously having De'Aaron Fox back has been huge. He's averaged like 28 points this year, or since coming back at the very least in those couple games. So good for him there. In terms of injuries, Keldon Johnson now listed as probable for this game. Jones doubtful in this one, and then Devin Vassell is already listed as out. He's been out for a little bit, if I'm not mistaken here. So this is a beaten and broken Spurs team. They really don't have any motivation other than Wembanyama being out there, right? Against the Sacramento team that is starting to play some good basketball. So I'll take Sacramento in a rout here. -7.5 seems like it's even 2. It's like stealing in this one, which if I'm that confident about it, makes me a little worrisome. But there's no I would say educated or analytical reason to look at the Spurs in this spot. If you don't want to lay the points with Sacramento, then that's fine. That's your opinion. But there's really no side or argument to be made for the San Antonio side. So by default, I lean Sacramento. But there is a chance that this is a final play. In terms of the total sitting at 237.5, it really should be a game in which a lot of points are scored. But can San Antonio hold their own weight? I think that is going to be the question, but more so it's going to be the issue in this spot. They've scored, listen to you rattle off their last 5 games here, right? 111, 105, 110, 113, and 187. If this is going to be a 240 plus type of a game, they're going to need a little bit more than a maximum of 113, right? So give me the under in this spot. This is a defense from Sacramento that I would say maybe starting to look a little bit better. Season to date, they're 18th in points per game, but 12th in their last 5 here. When it comes to field goal percentage, that's where they kind of struggle. They're not really making it hard for opposing teams, but they get a little bit better when they are on the road, coincidentally. So I'll take the under 237.5 in this spot and just hope that, San Antonio plays so poorly that it's an under, because I don't think either team's going to efficiently stop the other, but San Antonio really doesn't have much, firepower on the offensive end. All right, New Orleans taking on Denver here. This is a weird spread to me because I would think that this would be a lot higher than a 4-point spread. New Orleans coming off a good win. They routed Dallas after losing to them via blowout. Jamal Murray still out, obviously, for the Denver Nuggets here. Larry Nance Jr. still out for New Orleans, and same thing with CJ McCollum. So no new injuries for these two teams, which is interesting to me because earlier in the year they played one another. I shouldn't even say earlier in the year. 11 days ago they played one another, and Denver wins this game 134-116. So I'm line reading a little bit. I'd be concerned with this game, but I do think that, Denver is just so good that it's safe to pull the trigger on them in this spot with a low spread like this. But again, little worrisome that, they haven't really blown out a team as of late, right? Like, they're against the spread numbers. They've lost 3 straight against the spread. One of those was an outright loss with a very similar line to this one, but they got to be chomping at the bit for like a really clean win, which they haven't had in a while. And the Pelicans coming off of a game in which they won, but they probably shouldn't have. Like, Dallas is a better team than them. But like I said, little worried about the line. All arrows point to Denver, but you know how I like to read into these lines where, why is this line at 4, right? Like, why is it at 4? Vegas, the bookmakers, they know what they're doing. If this line stays around 4 or 4.5 today, I'd be worrisome, but I still think that there's a chance I pull the trigger on Denver in this spot. In terms of the total, I kind of like the over, just due to the fact that what we've seen from New Orleans, right? Like, this is a pace that they've been playing fairly efficiently at. They are, I believe, allowing like top 5 most shots against this season, and their field goal percent against is top half of the league. So teams are making shots and taking a lot against them here, and they're allowing top 10 most points per game. Now this is a good offense. Denver doesn't play with this crazy amount of pace, but damn are they efficient. They lead the league right now in field goal percentage, 50.5. Like they're shooting 50% from the field. Like that is crazy. This should be over 224.5. In fact, this is a good spot for a same game parlay in my opinion, to knock that total maybe down to like 214.5, or look at Denver's team total and then throw in a couple player props. So keep an eye on the pinned comment and on the YouTube shorts for the if there's a same game parlay that we throw out. All right, Chicago taking on Orlando. These two teams just played the exact same game in Chicago a couple nights back. We cashed the under in that game. It was a low line like it is today, 215.5, but I still think the same way. The only thing that worries me is that I don't think not to call it luck, but it's going to be tough to cash 2 unders at, sub 215 type of thing. So I might stay away from this, but there's nothing that tells me this game should be over. Both these offenses kind of stagnant. DeMar DeRozan's questionable in this spot too. If he plays, obviously there's another scorer for Chicago, but it wouldn't change my mind in terms of the total really at all. The one thing that I will say is this isn't a better Orlando team. I think I believe in that just because they are truly the better defense. Now I even talked about it in the last video, right? Like this Orlando defense has looked good at times, has looked bad at times. They take a big hit with Wendell Carter Jr., and I get that. But in terms of how they match up against this Orlando team, they are bigger, they're stronger. They should be able to kind of reel in the game and control defensively. And now they're getting 1 point here. I think I've even seen +2 on Bet365. So if you have access to that book, there you go. But I'll take Orlando and the points here. Again, they're a better team. They're good against the spread team this year as well. I just scratched myself in the face. What a dummy. But yeah, give me Orlando as well as the under. I don't know if we pull the trigger on the under though, just because I feel like I'm like getting too greedy here, right? Like this is such an obvious under spot that it's going to be 2 million points today. All right, we got Utah hosting Phoenix. Before we do that, guys, hit that subscribe button. And if you are still watching, go ahead and comment 21 because you are a real one or a loyal guppy and you made it 21 minutes into the video. Appreciate the hell out of you guys that do that and you girls that do that because it really does mean a lot that someone can sit here for 21 minutes and watch this content. Literally like the reason I get up and do it early in the morning, right? Like it makes it so much easier to wake up and know that we have that audience and community that we're building. Like I read the comments on other videos and stuff, and I don't know if anyone has a stronger sort of community for the real ones I'm talking about. Obviously everyone's gonna get the comments and blah blah blah, but these 21 comments or the numbers that I drop mean so damn much to me, and it should to you because I'm recognizing your names and all that, and we got a lot of stuff planned in the future for how we can galvanize this and make it better. But yeah, go ahead and comment before I go on a long rant. I am very thankful. Go ahead and comment 21 here. Let's get into this game. Utah taking on Phoenix right now. Phoenix 5-point favorites. In terms of what we're looking at, who's going to be on the floor, Bradley Beal's doubtful, Devin Booker is questionable, and then Walker Kessler still out for Utah there. Phoenix routed Utah earlier in the season, right? I think it was the second or third game of the season for Phoenix. They won 126-124, and I don't really see any reason why it should be any different today. This is a bad Utah defense and a middle-of-the-road Phoenix defense going up against a good, I would say, points per game type offense for Utah, but I've said it all year long, right? Like Utah is such an untrustworthy offense. They are a team that shoots the crap ton out of the ball, but they're a bottom 10 team in terms of percentage from the field. Now they're a top 10 team in 3-point percentage, so I'll give them credit there, but really I just do think that Phoenix is a little bit better built, and Phoenix coming off of, I don't know, I guess we could call it a decent win against Minnesota, right? Like Minnesota obviously had a lot going on with sort of the stuff that went on in the game and all the craziness and theatrics of that, but Phoenix comes in there or I guess stays at home and wins 133-115, so I'm willing to give credit to Phoenix for that win, right? Like if you get at least 2 of the 3 on that team, Beal, Booker, and Durant, right, then you have 2 pretty damn near absolute studs. So I don't think that it's crazy to look at this team and say, okay, well, Durant can drop 30, so can Booker, right? Like it's a good team if those 2 guys play. So I'll take Phoenix minus the 5 points. Total sitting at 236.5. again, when they first played earlier in the year, was a high scoring game, 126 to 104, but it didn't even get to this number. So again, I'm probably crazy for doing this, but I'm going to lean towards the under because I really am dead set on, yes, Utah plays fast. Yes, at times they'll make a lot of shots, but if they're out of rhythm and out of sort of a funk or in a funk, they really struggle to put up some high scoring numbers. Like a couple games that I would point out this season, right, would be they played Minnesota, a good defense, 95 points. They played Denver, 102. They scored 104 against this Phoenix team. When they play decent teams, which I would definitely say Phoenix is either decent or better and getting better as we watch, right, they tend to score a few less points. All right, Portland hosting the Lakers here. This is a tough one because I don't trust the Lakers. I've said that. Anthony Davis questionable, LeBron questionable, but this is a Portland team that is just not worth putting your money behind. Very similar to how we talked about the Spurs in Sacramento. At the same time as you betting on the Lakers, or me betting on the Lakers, I'm absolutely fading Portland no matter who's on the other side. So I'll lean Lakers here, lay in the points. It is a lot of points for a team that I just don't totally trust. The Lakers, 6-6 on the season, great, but they're only 1-5 on the road, so they don't play as well on the road, right? And they're 4-8 against the spread on the season, so they're not the best of spread teams either. One spot that I could get behind in this game is going to be the under 222.5. Yes, it seems like it is kind of a low number. I've actually seen 223.5 on some sports books as well, so if we can get that number, obviously get the best price available. Another reason to have Odds Jam, guys, a great tool for that type of a thing. But nonetheless, I do think that this is a spot in which I don't really know where Portland's offense is totally going to come from. 2 straight games now they've scored sub 100 points, right? And it's not like the Lakers are going out there and consistently putting up a bunch of points. We just saw them score 110 against Sacramento. About a week ago or so, they scored less than 100 against the Rockets, 107 against Miami. Like, they definitely have low scoring games in them. But I could see this being a game in which the Lakers win like 112 to 100, right? Which is a 212 total, definitely under this with 10 points to wiggle. So give me the under as well as the Lakers, but it's kind of a reluctant lean towards the Lakers. I'll say that. All right, the Clippers hosting the Rockets here. This line's actually up to 7 right now over on FanDuel. So that -5.5 is now 7. Total sitting at 218.5. So as we've even been recording and taking our time here, the line has moved. It might be too many points to give this Houston team. Like, this Houston team, it's crazy. They've won, what is it, 6 straight games. I believe they started the season 0-3, so they've won 6 straight games. This Clippers team is nothing to even write home about, but they haven't had the easiest of schedules. I'll be honest about that, but obviously I think a lot of people, if you're not a Clippers fan, kind of love the Clippers losing because it's like they try to put together 4 stars and it's like what are we doing, right? But nonetheless, I think it's a lot of points. I'm going to take Houston plus the 7. Whether it makes its way into the final plays, I'm not sure, because what I will say, and I'm completely honest about this, it's been 4 or 5 days since Houston's last game. They're absolutely due for a loss. And then in terms of the Clippers, they've had a 3-day rest, and they're absolutely due for a win. Does it come by 7 or more points? Who knows? But that is kind of the rationale as to why I might stay away from this game. Total at 218.5, though. I could see this one being over. Yes, we have 2 teams that, one, have had their fair share of struggles offensively, but have also played good defense. But again, I think that this is kind of a game in which the trends gets bucked for both teams here. So I hope Houston keeps it close. I imagine the Clippers win this game, but I think it could be like a 115 to 112 type of a game, which is well over that 217.5. But yeah, guys, that's all I have for you in today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy. Again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You guys have been absolutely crazy. Check out the Fade Me merch. If you're still watching right now, that means you rock with me and you are a legit supporter. You're tuning in every single day and a damn huge part of this community, right? So go check out Fade Me, legitimate merch. It's not crappy stuff that we just put logos on. Like, this is stuff we put a lot of effort into the store and into the products and sampling and testing. So go check it out, guys. Good prices as well. FadeMe.store. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.